Hey everyone, welcome to the show, So You Want to Become, and I'm your host, Krishna Ananathan. And joining us today is Mr. Ravishankar Gopalan, a financial sector transformer, a tech innovator, and a mentor who has built, scaled, and reimagined many careers and institutions across continents. From founding IDFC Bank's digital stack to now driving change at Execute Partners and Digital K Technologies, his journey is one which is ahead of change. It is about staying ahead of change and making it happen. It is also noteworthy to acknowledge that his mother, Aruna Gopalan, was a part of the core team of the first PTA at the school, playing a significant part in the school's development. Sir, it's a privilege to have you here.
Hi, Krishna. Thanks for having me here.
So let's go back to the beginning. So did you always imagine a career in banking and tech, or how did it unfold?
No, definitely I did not imagine any career in banking. In fact, I didn't even know what graduation courses that I will do. But once I came into my CA, into my articleship, I saw a lot of my seniors getting into Citibank. And that is where my interest in banking started. And the rest, they say, is all history, right?
So let's go back to the beginning. So did you always imagine a career in banking and tech, or how did it unfold?
Actually, I used to see a correspondent, well-dressed in Jamaican shirt and coming to school with a lot of guests. And I used to see Arun Vasu. So when Arun Vasu used to enter a class, the entire class would drool over him. So that was my first brush with leadership, I would say. But more than that, I think the teachers and my fellow friends were my main inspiration behind the leadership.
Any specific memories to the school, to the PS Senior Secondary School, that just holds you to the ground still?
Oh, no, lots, my friends. Actually, I'm still in touch with all my friends and all. We are almost like how we were about 30 years ago. I wouldn't call it grounding, but I would say that it still makes me feel that I'm really a student at heart, ever learning, always willing to go out with friends and have that enjoyment, right? So that's what I'll credit the school for.
Something which is off topic, but do you think having such friends is a privilege in the current generation?
Oh, yes. See, it's only your school friends. Maybe you can take about 4 or 5 of them who will last with you till probably, the very end. And then you have your school friends, which would be a larger bucket of about, say, 20, 25 or 30 people with whom you can really open up. While they may not be close, you may not be in touch with them on a day-to-day basis, but these are the people that you can open up to. And then the rest, you have other acquaintances, you have colleagues and things like that. But in today's generation, where people are becoming very lonely, I would think that having friends is very, very important. And why? Because you need a sounding board, right? Nobody is an island. When you're down, when you want to bounce some ideas, when you want to discuss, there are a lot of things that I discuss with a lot of my colleagues to say, hey, what do you think? It's only friends that will tell you the truth. See, if you're giving them some outlandish idea, they will say, very good. If you're giving them some stupid idea, they'll say, boss, this won't work. That only the people with whom you have that comfort will give you that. So I really feel having friends is very, very, very important, more so in today's time and age.
Your career spans Citibank, Aditya Birla, IDFC FIRST. So, but exactly what drew your banking aspirations when you were getting into it?
See, as I told you, I wanted to get into Citibank, but because I was not a rank holder in CA, I couldn't get into Citibank. I got into Reliance, Industries. I was there for 3 years, and then there was an opportunity that opened up in Citibank, and then I just took it. Right? It was in HR, and that is when I felt that I had once dreamed about being in Citibank. Now here I was in Citibank, right? So I wanted to prove that I could be as capable and as successful as anybody else who would have brought in a bank. And then one led to the other. And finally, I was part of the founding team of IDFC FIRST Bank, where actually I set up a bank from scratch, and which to me is a privilege, which nobody it's not going to be available to a lot of people over the next couple of years. So I would think Citibank was a starting point because it was my dream. And one dream led to the other. But always understand that when you have dreams, there has to be a purpose. Right? You can have a lot of means. Citibank to me was like means, right? It kind of, once you get in there, you really feel that, you're working into something that is good, that's your dream. But you can't just stop, because in those days, my aspiration used to be become a vice president, because all vice presidents used to have secretaries, right? So I was thinking like one day I would be a vice president, I have a secretary, I'll tell her to do a few things. And that was my aspiration. I didn't have any big aspiration. But then as I became a VP, they removed that whole thing. They said no more VPs no more secretaries for VPs. So it moved to the next level, it moved to the next level. So that kept on my aspirations on. But I would think whatever I am in terms of the knowledge that I've gained is all thanks to Citibank.
So at IDFC FIRST Bank, you had implemented everything from the Aadhaar-enabled payment system to UPI app to for the whole redesign was under you. So what's the story behind starting a digital bank from scratch?
See, when you get a license in 2014, there were already big banks like Kotak Mahindra Bank, HDFC Bank, SBI. So when you are a new bank and your point of arrival is that nobody knows you, then how do you reinvent yourself, right? And that is when the whole digital banking thing happened. And so we had to think very differently from what the other banks had been there or what the other banks have done. So that is what led to this whole, I'll say, unveiling of this digital bank. And then it was not easy because in a digital bank, you want to do a lot of things which nobody else has done. But you should also have that common sense to think if nobody else has done, then there must be a reason why they've not done it, right? So when you go behind that, you figure out sometimes it was the compliance hurdles. Sometimes probably the customers were not expecting something like that. But then you still had to do something very different. And therefore, we did manage to do a lot of innovation, being a new bank and everything. But if you ask me whether that alone is enough to propel any organization into the next level, probably no. The digital journey has to be integrated with the human element because ultimately, who are you serving? You're serving your customer. What makes what makes it interesting? Is it interesting to say I sold so many home loans, or is it interesting to say I gave so many people new homes to live in? So the journey changes because when you're thinking customer, when you're thinking about how you can kind of circle back to your customer, things change. And that's what actually we did it. We tried to amplify in IDFC FIRST Bank. In fact, when I joined, it was IDFC Bank. Then with the merger, it became IDFC FIRST Bank.
When did you join IDFC, sir?
2014.
2014. So from the ground up to the building, you were there.
Yeah. When I went there, I was not even on the payrolls of IDFC FIRST Bank because it didn't exist. So we were all part of IDFC Limited because that NBFC had gotten the license to start a new bank. And then I was just the one person. Then I built my entire team. I had at a peak about 400 people with a core 125 people. So I used to operate out of the basement of the bank, which used to be a car park. And because I wanted to operate, when they said there's no space because we are just recruiting people left, right, center, they said, where would you want to? We have space available in the basement. Who would like to go? I said, I would want to go because I had never been part of a startup. I want to be part of a startup. So I went to the basement, and basement is not a very healthy place because you had all the generators cranking, there was all the fumes coming in. It was not a very easy place to sit, but we wanted to get that feel of a startup, right? So literally and figuratively, we have built it ground up. I can say that.
So what does it take to balance technology, compliance, and customer trust at scale?
Good humans.
Good humans alone?
Good humans alone. Because, see, all of us have a sense of everything, right? When you drive a car, there's an accelerator, there's a brake, right? But ultimately, you control the car, right? So that if you akin the brake to be like compliance, if you are akin the accelerator to be like your business accelerator or your innovation, you can always keep pressing that. But you can't do it in a narrow lane, right? And that's where your brake helps. It is because you have a brake that you're able to accelerate. I'm just giving you an analogy. The reason for giving this analogy is that it is the humans that need to bring that difference too. Because at the end of the day, these are all functions, whether it is compliance, whether it is business, whether it is innovation, these are all functions, right? It is how well you're able to navigate this whole thing is what this whole game about. But you should never fall in love with any of these functions, right? Ultimately, you need to be guided by an North Star, which should be your customer. You should add value. The more you deliver value to your customer, the more you're going to get revenues. The more you're going to get revenues, the more you're going to grow. So if that is your North Star and you're always looking at that, then everything else will follow. So you will not, would you want to be sold something which is inferior? No. So why would you want to sell something inferior to your customer? That is compliance. And would you want to accept a second-rated or a second-rate quality versus something which is top class? No. So if you would not accept it, why would you give something to your customers? So it's a very simple logic. So, but we need to train our people. We need to train our people to kind of look at things in this way. Otherwise, it's not going to be automatic for everybody, because once you tell me that, compliance-wise, I need to follow this, or business-wise, I need to do that. And that's the reward system for me. The more I'll do it, the more you reward me. I'm going to do that because that's my reward system. But more you get people to think about the end customer, the more you get people to look at the big picture. That's what leadership is about, right? Then everything will fall in place.
How do you train these people to like get into the compliance and then making sure that the customer gets the best product? Because to be honest, there will always be an aspect of, cheating in one end, the other end gets cheated as well.
Yeah, it does happen, right? And that's the reason why you have these compliance functions. See, it's always easy to get carried away. I've heard cases, or I've seen cases where old people are sold some insurance policies without even them having any idea about what the policy is. There are people who are sold some loans without telling them the hidden charges. So these are all things which should not happen. And if you have a very good compliance function, they will catch all of these things, right? But how much is your compliance function scalable? How many policemen, how many compliance people you can have for all the number of employees you have? So it's not possible. So at the base case level, you need to give all these people training. You need to tell them what are the guardrails. What is it that they can do? What is it that they cannot do? At the end of the day, there is a customer, there is also a brand. If you do a good job with your customer of selling them homes, of selling them education, of selling them dreams and living by that, then your customers will come back to you. So people need to be trained on that. Yes, there should be generic trainings given. There should also be focused and specific trainings that also need to be given to employees. And that requires the bank to kind of have a proper training mechanism, units that will take care of training, and people that do that around the year. But the basic accountability of getting people trained is that of the employees manager. Okay, if you understand the whole structure, how it works. So like for example, in a school, a class teacher is responsible for the class. You might have HODs, you might have principal. I mean, it's very easy to say that the school is not good, the principal is not good, or the HOD is not good, but at the end of the day, it is the class teacher. So same way, everybody reports into somebody. So that somebody has to ensure that their entire class or their entire set of employees are trained and they take them along. They make them into model bankers. And that's what I had always believed, and that's what I still believe can be the recipe to success. Good people with good systems, with good processes can be a sure success mantra for any bank.
So good people, good resources, and good product is the...
Yeah, good product. Even if you have ordinary products, right? Even if you have something, and you do that repeatedly well for the nth number of time. See, what is the difference between Sachin Tendulkar and Rahul Dravid? I mean, from my understanding, I'm not an expert in cricket, but from my understanding, Sachin was a talented batsman. Right? Rahul was also talented, but Rahul made up for the lack of little bit of that extra talent through the training, through practice. He used to practice a lot, right? And he used to be so disciplined. That was why he used to be called as one. So that's not for no reason, right? And even being a Sachin Tendulkar is not easy. You have to practice. In either which way, you have to practice. So God endows you with talent. If you have that talent to practice, you go places. But if you don't have that talent to the extent of what is required, you still practice, you will still go places. So therefore, consistency of what you do. In banks, you don't need exceptional, intelligent people. You only need good people who can keep doing things consistently over the next billion times.
So what inspired the shift from banking to co-founding executive partners and digital K technologies?
Actually, I did a huge transformation project towards the, from 2019 to 2022, which is kind of rebuilding this entire app and the portal space. Because when we merged from with Capital First, we became IDFC FIRST Bank. When we became IDFC FIRST Bank, we were left with two systems on either sides. You had system on Capital First, you had system on IDFC Bank as well. So when you have two systems, it's always a question of evaluating to say which one is better. Should I take this or that? Then our CEO, Mr. Vaidyanathan, he decided that why don't we look at things grounds up, right? Why don't we build a digital bank? And that's the whole transformation thing that happened. Wherein for 3 years, I was carved out. I was only eating, breathing, sleeping this transformation of putting a digital bank together. And I'm happy and I'm proud that it really came out well, right? And people are still appreciating it. People are still reaping the benefit of it. But once you do such a large transformation project, you kind of been part of a banking setup. You've been part of a revamp and creation of a new digital bank. I didn't want to settle down for something that would have taken me to doing a BA. So I said, and I learned a lot in the 3 years that I did this transformation, I learned a lot of these things, right? I learned new ways of doing things. I learned the agile mindset, the agile ways of doing software development. Then I said, why not I kind of look at this as a practice and start on my own. And I was also at the time, at that point in my career where I had to reinvent myself, like the eagle, where I had to sharpen my beak. When the eagle becomes old, when the beak becomes really old, when it becomes curved, it is no longer able to hunt the way it used to hunt when it was younger. So what it does, it goes to the mountain and it regrows the beak by breaking the old beak, right? So I wanted to do something like that, to say, why don't I relook and reinvent myself? And therefore, I founded Execute Partners. And the only big capital I had was my intellectual capital. And I had the experience of doing transformation, experience of doing, projects at scale, that too for large organizations. And that's when this happened. And then the whole passion behind which I kind of left my job was for the purpose of education. I wanted to kind of bring education to the masses, which is the idea of my digital technologies, digital key technology, wherein we wanted to use the assets which typically the corporates discard for the purpose of education. So this is an idea which we kind of toyed, when I kind of put in my papers, I said, why don't I kind of take it, either repair it, reuse it, or recycle it, and give the corporates the benefit of channeling it to a proper CSR, and also getting those assets used for the purpose of education, and not in big cities, but in tier 2, tier 3 kind of cities. And that's how the whole idea was born. But it took me a year and a half to figure out a good partner to be able to develop that. Now we think that with this, if I can also include a bit of AI to kind of help kids kind of learn and make them proficient in certain subjects, that will really add value. And that's the journey that I'm on to on digital care. So yeah, life's good.
Okay. How different is your role today involving startups, advising startups and institutions compared to like being in the executive role?
See, even as an executive, I always used to give, gyan. And gyan as in, I always used to advise people, because see, when you start your career, you are a individual contributor. You do everything on your own. There's nothing, there are no people for you to manage. But as you climb up the ladder, you start managing people, right? But as you become an executive, you manage through people. When you manage through people, there are a couple of ingredients. One is you need to have the right set of people. And second is you need to always keep advising them and telling them whether they are on course, whether they are not on course, and have mechanisms for reviews. And that's exactly what I'm doing with startups and other companies, is because I love talking. I love giving advices. And when I see something, I actually tell them. And I always look for, the way a transformation happens, or a way a transformation starts, is the definition of the problem. If you know the problem, then you're 50% there with the solution. So for me, when I look at things, when I look at processes, when I go for reviews, the first thing I look for is that, is there a problem? And what is the definition of the problem? Are the people able to understand the problem and explain the problem. These are two things, right? I understand it, but I'm not able to articulate it. But I'm able to articulate. If you ask somebody, what is your problem, and you're able to explain your problem, then you're 50% there, right? And that's exactly what I do. I kind of work with teams. I understand their problem. I kind of make them explain the problem. Then I make them own their problem. Because once you own your problem, then you will start going in different directions to find the solutions. And once you find the solution, there'll be multiple things that you want to do. Like, for example, if I ask you if you were to start this podcast all over again, as a setup, as a company, how you do, you will say 100 things. But then it all starts with that first thing, right? What is the first thing that you need? You need an audience, you need the speaker, and you need all these equipments, etc. And then the rest of the stuff, like, whether you need to have a proper room, whether you need to do something more, etc., will come much later. So there you'll always need to prioritize. When you find that there may be multiple problems, there may be multiple solutions to a problem. You can't achieve all of that in one day. You'll have to calibrate. Either you make your problem statement very sharp, or you make your solution very pointed and probably prioritize those and start achieving things as per your priority. Then things will fall in place. So coming back to your question, I love discussing with people. I love understanding their problems and giving them solutions. And that's why I prefer, or I like advising companies and startups, etc. And that's also a way of building relationship as well. If I talk to you, I understand your problem, I give you some unsolicited or solicited advice. That's good. That's good for me because I get to know you. I have found one more friend or I found one more colleague, right? So that's also the way I look at it.
Rapid fire round. So what is the first big career yes moment for you?
When I got Citibank.
One non-banking skill that has shaped your success?
It's my resilience.
One thing that the school has given you that you still carry?
Friends.
Execute or innovate? What excites you more today?
Both. Because to succeed in today's world, you need a combination of both. Gone are the days when the integration used to happen elsewhere. Today, you need to calibrate in your mind. You need to see the thought of ambiguity. Life is not going to be walk in the park.
So we are coming to the end of the episode. So what would you tell a class 12 student who is interested in banking and isn't sure how to begin?
See, if a class 12 student is really interested in banking, you should just go for it. Okay, because there is everything that you're looking for. There's glamour, there is money, there is success, everything, right? If that is your definition of what you want to have in life. But if you want to really look at innovation, if you really want to look at something that's path-breaking that you want to create, I would think banking is not the place to go. Because see, banking at the end of the day, while it will look glamorous, it's all regimented, right? You cannot innovate a product out of your own, hat and say that, hey, tomorrow I'm going to introduce something, I'll give a credit card with this and that. You can't do that because it's all highly regulated. So if you really want to innovate, you need to think of spaces in the financial services, but outside of banking. But having said all of this, it is up to the student to figure out where or what he wants. Like, I had no idea what a bank did because none of us were taught, because we were in the pre-Google era, right? So there was nothing that was written or told about banking, but all we wanted was success. And then we learned a lot of things on the job once we came in here. If you're very clear that banking is the place to go for you, and that's what you want, and that's where you want to be to succeed, then go for it.
So as we celebrate 50 years of excellence at PS Senior, what's the message that you would like to leave behind for your alumni and for the future leaders in the making?
I would think that the student years of 12, 14, 15 years are the best days of one's life, right? Because everything is being taken care of, right? It is the best part of life for the students as well as for the parents. So I would say enjoy each and every day, okay? Yes, when you come to your 11th and 12th, you'll be asked all these questions. You'll be forced upon what you want to do, where you want to go and things like that. But I would say till you reach that point, you should just enjoy. But enjoyment does not mean just coming in and then going back. That's not enjoyment. Enjoyment is enjoying the surroundings, enjoying the company of your friends, enjoying the inputs and the wisdom that you get from your teacher, enjoying the games without being judged, right? That is what I would call as enjoyment. I would say that enjoy your life hour by hour, day by day. There will come a time when you will have to take that decision. You'll have to take that call to say what you want to do in life. And don't worry, I mean, you'll have enough wisdom for you to, and a lot of people around you to tell you where you should be going, what you should be doing. But till that time, I would think that just have fun. Because school is a place for fun. And don't forget that once you get into work, once you get into wherever you want to go in life, this kind of fun, the unadulterated fun that you will have in school, you will never get it back again.
Sir, thank you. Thank you for being here with us today.
So thanks, Krishna. Thanks for having me. And it was a pleasure talking to you.